thoughts, opinions, and general overall shade thrown on High at 9 News are those of the individual speakers and not those of High at 9 News, its audience, or its advertisers. The statements made do not constitute medical, legal, or financial advice, and for advice tailored to your specific situation, please consult with a licensed professional. Welcome to the High at 9 News Hour, where you will hear from cannabis industry experts and professionals from around the country talk about important topics while shining light on global issues and discussing cannabis as it relates to politics, regulation and reform, data and technology, science, research and medicine, family and parenting, art, celebrities and entertainment, fitness, sports, mental health and wellness, and plant-based medicines and entheogenics. Together, we are building a stronger community, fighting the stigma and creating change. With your hosts, Jason Beck and Rico Lamitte, joined by special industry expert correspondents from around the country, and daily antics brought to you by Cannabis. Coming to you live every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and high noon on the East Coast. And thank you all for getting high at 9 with us. Oh, yeah. Good morning, everybody. That's right. Oh, my goodness, my goodness, my goodness. Yes, good morning. It is Tuesday, July 9th, you guys. And today is National Dimples Day because I like to smile.
Oh, that's cute.
Yes. It's also cow.
Where are the dimples at, though?
Yeah, they're right here, bro. Oh, yes. It's also Cow Appreciation Day. And I guess this is probably for all the greenies that are trying to get rid of cows because of their flatulence or whatnot, even though we know it's all made up bullshit.
Our Hindu brothers.
And greenies.
Mm-hmm.
The old greenies.
Greenies, yeah. Greenies are greedy. And also, too, you guys are going to love this. It's also National Sugar Cookie Day.
Well, you have a sugar cookie right here.
Oh, boy.
An American one.
American sugar cookie, you guys.
Do you think I was talking about me? Jesus.
Sugar cookie, America.
Sugar cookie.
America.
That sounds like the worst. That sounds like the worst right-wing propaganda documentary title ever.
Sugar cookie.
American sugar cookies.
Mm-hmm. American sugar
cookie.
It sounds like the American healthcare program.
Conspiracy exposed.
Sounds like the title to. Sounds like the title to Marjorie Taylor Greene's biopic.
Oh, boy. Anyways, thank you all for joining us and getting high at 9 with us every Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific and high noon on the East Coast. Yes, that's right. We are live every Monday through Friday on YouTube, Rumble, Twitch, Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, and on our very own website at www.high9news.com. But kicking it off first, that's right, we have the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte, the Quasimodo caretaker, and the man who's looking vibrantly fresh today because he has a new camera in play today. That's right, it is the dope dad himself, Mr. Rico Lamitte.
Thank you, Jason.
Yes.
Thank you, Jason. And thank you, American Cookies.
Yeah, so, America.
Today, we're going to take things back to the great state of New York, the Empire State, if you will, where it seems like they're having more issues. So this May, New York law enforcement launched Operation Padlock to Protect, better known as OPP to all the Naughty by Nature fans out there, shutting down hundreds of smoke shops across Manhattan after allegedly being found to be operating without proper cannabis retail licenses. Well, it's almost May, and to the owners of said trap shops, rent's due, motherfuckers. Who's gonna pay these bills? New York property owners are now facing the challenge of evicting the unlicensed retailers, but will Mayor Eric Adams, the kind and gentle man that he is, step in to assist? Probably not. According to Benzinga's Margaret Jackson, some shop owners have abandoned their leases, leaving vacant and inaccessible storefronts behind. Most landlords who rented to unlicensed cannabis businesses were unaware or didn't care whether their tenants broke the rules, and the fines didn't seem to faze them, said Jeffrey Hoffman, who works with licensed cannabis companies. I don't know what planet we live on when landlords just take no responsibility for whoever they lease their property to or what happens after they lease it. That is where we are. Per the article, the widespread COVID-19 lockdowns in 2020 caused a surge in retail vacancies across the state. But the following year, New York legalized adult use, creating a new potential tenant pool. Smoke shops, seeing an opportunity, filled the vacant storefronts. And the rest is history. While the state aimed to establish a regulated cannabis industry, the license process was slow, leaving legitimate businesses waiting for approval. The delay allowed unlicensed shops to open quickly, capitalizing off the newly legal market. Brandon Singer, founder and CEO of retail leasing and advisory firm Retail Mona, said many unlicensed cannabis businesses lied to landlords to secure the leases. They'll send a term sheet and they say that they're a deli or a bodega, and then all of a sudden they're opening and they're selling weed.
Oh, that's so good.
That's how it happens.
Surprise, motherfucker.
That's too good.
New York, a hell of a town.
In early 2024, about 2,900 unlicensed cannabis stores were operating in New York. City officials felt powerless to take action because of the concerns about reigniting the war on drugs and limitations imposed on state regulations. As a result, the city council passed a bill that imposed a $10,000 fine on landlords who rented the unlicensed cannabis stores, but the measure proved to be largely ineffective. The high cost of renting commercial space in the city was a major contributing factor. According to CBRE, the average asking rent along retail corridors of Manhattan was $688 per square foot, or a monthly rent of $43,000 for a 750 square foot store. But this April, shit changed. Governor Kathy Hochul flew down and helped everybody out. She and the state legislature added language to the state budget, arming local authorities with the power to shut down unlicensed stores permanently. This was followed by a crackdown in May with a joint city task force raiding unlicensed cannabis retailers. The raids involved padlocking stores and leaving court summonses on their doors. To strengthen enforcement, the state also made it easier for landlords to evict tenants selling cannabis illegally. This is half of my face on the screen right now with Yarrow at the bottom.
Adam's transitioning it right now for you, bro.
I'm here to support you.
I'm in full support.
You know,
I'm here to support you.
if Yarrow was here on time, we wouldn't have had that issue.
I was having tech issues as well as psychological glitches.
Apparently.
Yarrow.
Isn't that every day?
The legislation also imposes a $50,000 fine on landlords who failed to initiate eviction proceedings after their tenants notify them of illegal activity. So the landlords are in a sticky situation. The ones who knew what they were doing, whatever. But the ones who did not, they got to either snitch on the tenant, opening themselves up and their families up to possible consequences of said actions, or they risk a $50,000 fine from the city when they find out. Now, I'm in no way of recommending anyone engage in illegal activities, but I'd also like to point out that an easy way to allegedly sidestep all the drama altogether is for the landlords just to set up a deal with the trappers, get them to foot the bill. Everybody eats. You know what I'm saying? So, those are just my thoughts as Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High 9 News. I want to hear from the rest of the team. They're going to fix this whole landlord thing? Should the landlords be blamed for all this mess? Or is it the tenants? What's going on? How are we going to fix New York? This is the latest in a series of shit.
I don't know. New York seems unfixable, but I think you have a good plan, right? Just have the traps, pay the bills, and get on with our lives.
Well,
keep it moving.
I mean, I could tell you this much about the whole New York thing, you guys. I mean,
You love it.
I love this.
I know.
Yes, it's so good.
It's good.
This is so good. I mean, I just watched a video earlier today of them raiding a shop that like wasn't even inhabited, and they had like a whole printer in there and everything, and they're like, oh, this is definitely definitely getting seized, and so I'm wondering if they're going to sell that printer. I think that's a really
A trap Kinko's?
Man, yeah.
Jesus Christ.
I want to buy that
Packaging is
printer.
different.
It's just going to go for auction. It's a really expensive printer.
I mean, like, here's the thing. I don't buy it. If you look, it's happening in LA. It's happening everywhere else too. Like, the landlords know what's up. They're getting a cut of it. Like, they're just trying to separate their business and make themselves not seem guilty of what they know it's full well going on. Because, like, if I'm a landlord and, you know, I probably have been in the community for a while, then people have probably told me by now that, hey, there's a trap shop in your property, right? So I'm going to go down there and be like, where's my 10%, dog? So, I mean,
it's the rent.
Let's just see. No, I think they're getting more than rent. I think they're probably getting cuts. Like,
well, of course they are. Did you didn't hear the amount of money that they said that they were paying on rent, like $40,000 a month or something like that, Rico?
43,000.
Exactly.
Yeah, and
catch
that's
that in LA
base.
quick.
That's base. And just think, that's before they mark the shit up for cannabis businesses. You know how fucking they mark that shit up, like landlords.
Have you seen an
like,
apartment you can get in New York City for $8,000 a month? I think it's like a shoebox and a closet with like a toilet in the hallway. Like,
maybe New Yorkers don't need a lot to move to live off of.
Apparently.
I wonder where AOC is on this, since she's all about taxing the rich.
I wonder how Donald Trump would fix this with his landlord cheating ass slumdog.
Well, I mean, technically, he'd say it's all legal under the Farm Bill, the bill that he signed into place. It's all THC-A.
No, he would probably just tell the landlords to understate how big the properties are in the first place, so they pay less. Problem solved.
Men are always lying about the size of something. Jesus Christ, huh, Rico?
That's right.
Oh boy.
All right.
I ain't gotta lie, man.
And when somebody wants to rent it, he's gonna say how valuable it is suddenly.
I just like the surprise on motherfuckers' face when they see me in person and just how large I am.
Well, I gotta apply the real estate. I gotta apply the real estate lens.
Thank you, Yarrow.
You know, Biden was involved, as I recollect, in promoting the crack house laws, which was in the late '80s, early '90s.
That's true.
Which was an effort to make landlords liable for the activities that happened in their properties. And the idea was that landlords were allowing these decrepit houses to be used as places where people could consume drugs. And I think that was a slippery slope, and I don't think things have improved in respects to insulating landlords from the activities of tenants or associates of tenants. We've even seen an extension of that here in California, where in Sonoma County, PRMD, through code enforcement, has assessed daily fines, not just on tenants, but also on landlords, for violating civil codes and hitting people where it hurts, which is their wallets. And the challenge I have is that, you know, landlords are the sitting duck, right? You know, that's easy to track down who owns a property. But I think it's a real slippery slope to make landlords liable for tenant activity, especially without any sort of judicial ruling around the facts or the alleged facts. And so just for me, looking through the landlord lens, I don't like when they go after landlords. I also think it's a little disingenuous in the article for them to say, well, Kathy Hochul finally gave them the power to do X, Y, and Z. We've covered on this show that New York has assessed north of $24 million in fines and collect less than $1 million. And so the idea that they can find their way out of this problem when they're not enforcing the fines they've already assessed just seems like optics and
Yarrow, to play a little bit of playing devil's advocate here, right?
There we go.
If your kid, hold on. If your kid is selling drugs on the playground,
define drugs.
You're the parent.
Yoo-hoo.
Crack cocaine.
Okay.
Crack, whatever.
So like New Jack City, replay of New Jack City.
Hold on. You had nothing to do. You had nothing to do with your kid picking that up from their OG. Let's just say your kid's like a preteen or some shit. I'm not talking about like little babies, nothing. In my hypothetical, at least. All right. So let's just say your kid is like lower high school, whatever. He has an OG. You didn't know anything about that shit, and he's selling fucking drugs, and you find that shit out. You as the parent are responsible.
You cut out, Rico.
Must be that new camera.
What part did I cut out?
You said you as the parent are responsible. In regards to
are you the parent responsible for your kid selling drugs? If your kid is selling drugs at school,
I'll put it to you like this:
watching your kid.
If your child is under 18 and you are in control of them, then yes, you are subject to that liability.
If you're that detached from the situation
Yes.
that you don't realize your kid got a whole ass OG and then started trapping crack cocaine at the local playground, then yeah, you should absolutely be held liable for that because you
I
did
think
a bad
it's
job.
a false. I don't think that's the analogy carries through though, because parents' responsibility for the minors they chose to have and are responsible for their care, custody, and control is completely different than a landlord who rents a property to a tenant.
Take it here. Take it here. How are you as a city gonna shut down these shops? You have to go to the source. If you're attacking the drug dealers, you are attacking the symptom. Are you not?
Well, the crack. Okay, so the crack laws that were passed that went after landlords failed to hold the CIA responsible for participating in the trafficking of cocaine in this United States. So if we are going to hold real accountability for the people who are creating these societal problems, I'm all for real accountability, but let's get real about that.
Yarrow, that wasn't like a known thing at the time. So it wasn't like they knew that the CIA was doing all that. But
I can't believe
a reporter knew about it.
I can't believe I'm hearing Yarrow advocating for draining the swamp.
Right. I mean, and as much as I want to agree, like, I get you in theory, but like, if you look at LA for instance, right? We just put a shop, or trying to put a shop in somewhere that was shut down a bunch of times for having illicit activity. We got slowed up on construction because the landlord didn't tell us that he was criminally charged for said thing and has to go through some kind of deference process, right? So that he can have his charges dropped. These landlords aren't by and large just innocent bystanders, some little old lady who's like, oh, they seem like nice gentlemen. They know what the fuck's up. Like, I don't believe that people are
and
this stupid. And if you are, maybe that's not the business you should be running. Like, we're not picking on innocent bystanders.
I'll put it to
it's not even
you ever rent a building before?
Yeah, I was about to say that, Todd.
It's a huge background check. Yeah, there's a huge background check. You got to put deposits.
Well, let's just say they're not going through the background check. Let's just say you're referred by someone. They're still going to ask you. And I've never rented a building without being asked what is going to be the use going on with inside.
Of course. Of course. Let me see your ability to
think
pay.
about you think about what kind of background checks you got to do for $43,000 a month.
Literally.
Who's running your credit? You know what I'm saying?
Guys, it's not that they're targeting the landlords. It's that it's a deterrence. It's the only deterrence they have to say, hey, like, someone's going to be in trouble if this continues, if this persists. But they're not actually just targeting the landlords. This is the only.
I just believe the burden of proof.
Yeah.
I just believe the burden of proof to be an accessory or a co-conspirator for fraud and criminal activity should be a higher standard than the standard for civil litigation.
That's up to the courts, Yarrow, and not every circumstance that comes in front of the courts is going to be treated like the way you're saying. So it's not like that.
We have two different burden of proof: one in criminal, one in civil. And in civil, it's much lower.
Well, hold on. With all due respect, when you create a system which there's no actual consequences for doing this other than just a fine, it's a rap on the wrist at most. So they have to have a bigger stick to beat someone with more skin in the game. That skin in the game is on the landlord's back, right? Because
someone's advocating for bigger sticks.
Hey. I'm not the one advocating for bigger sticks.
Harder hit.
That's how it works when your legislature doesn't create a system of checks and balances. When you say we're going to legalize it, but we're not going to create any consequences, that's what's creating this fucked up situation in New York as it stands. So it's like Kathy Hochul, Eric Adams, they all fucked up. And that's why it's screwed up right now.
It'll all get better when there's a king in office.
Don't worry.
King Todd Denkin. King Denkin.
I mean, right now we have the
right now we have a jester.
Yeah, we have a jester in place as a king right now.
That would imply that he's awake.
Blame the landlords.
That implies that he's like an actual doing.
I mean,
I don't even think he's doing that.
The city of New York. I mean, I find this very interesting. The city of New York was highlighting on social media the other day, bragging about the fact that they have closed down 400 illegal trap shops in the city of New York.
Yeah, 400 out of 11.
Yeah, that's 400
estimated 3,000.
400 motherfuckers ain't paying rent.
And that's 400 out of 3,000. Like, it's the city of New York wants to take a victory lap before they ever even win anything. And they've shown that with their rollout and their failed approach to enactment.
I just wonder how many of these how many of these 400 places are going to ultimately reopen within the next 30 to 90 days.
I wonder how many of them are open already. I mean look at, once again, LA. They open the next fucking day. Yep. Okay, you padlocked me. Here's my bolt cutters. I'm going to go trip the power box in the back, turn it back on myself. Have a nice day.
I'm going to rent a generator.
Hey.
Yes.
All right, so if they've shut down.
Seen that a lot. DWP shuts you down, just grab a Jenny.
Nope. Yep.
100%.
All right, so quick math right here.
Yep.
So they have shut down 400 shops, $43,000 a month for those shops in rent is being lost. So that's $1.72 million in rent each month that's being lost. It's been 3 months in that shutdown. Let's just say, times that by 3. So $5.16 million. Oh, scratch that one.
Oh, boy.
$51.6 million in rent money at minimum is being lost right now. We're about to see a crisis like no other right now when these shops become abandoned. And I think these trap shops are going to turn into crack houses, right? These places are going to turn into the places where people are holed up in the city, broken into, and now you're going to have a real broken windows problem because of this. I think this is what we're seeing the beginning of right here.
Become shooting galleries instead of crack houses.
Wow.
These people are going broke. And it's expensive as fuck. How are you going to fill those tenants? Fill those vacancies? Yarrow, Mr. Real Estate guy.
Well, I think post-COVID, commercial real estate tenancy has taken on a very different look, and I think that in the internet age and in the era of Amazon, commercial brick and mortar is undergoing a transition, a transformation, a metamorphosis that we don't know what the outcome is going to look like. I went shopping at the mall a couple days ago because I got teenagers and somebody needed a bunch of shorts for camp, and I'm looking at the mall and like a quarter of the storefronts are empty or going out of business. So I think the way in which Americans shop is changing, and it's changing the face of commercial retail real estate.
Yeah, I think that's the biggest threat is that without those shops, that there's no way to have a lease.
Yeah, these landlords are going to go broke, and then they're going to sue the city.
We've spent far too much time in New York, bro. We got to go to a commercial. We're going to be right back.
Oh, man, that was weird. Hey, you, America. Do I look like Sean Connery? Good morning, America. Saman Razani coming to you live from sunny Los Angeles, California with the one and only highest host, Mr. Jason Beck, smoking on the best weed in the world. Did you know that we have an audio-only version of our podcast? You can find it on Apple, Google, Amazon, iHeartRadio, and Spotify. No excuses in 2024. If you haven't checked us out, check it out now. And also, check out what the Prophet's doing in 2024.
Oh, boy.
And we're back, Rico.
West Hollywood's very own Jason Beck will be very missed when he makes his way eastward, as he now calls Long Beach his home. But the real question is, when he leaves the room, has the highest Republican left, or will the highest Republican remain with Jenny Beth Dills right next to him? That's the question America wants to know. Is he really the highest Republican anymore? Is he really?
He is the undisputed
the reddest
highest
of the
Republican.
red. Yeah. Does he really smoke
there's no
the best weed in the world?
Yes.
These are questions 1, 2. These are the questions that America needs to hear the answers to, and there's no better man to deliver it than Jason Beck.
Oh yes. Well, the answer is yes to all of your questions, Rico. But
the crowd goes wild.
Yes, but let me tell you guys, man, I'm gonna have fun with this story. I'm probably gonna trigger a couple of you guys. You know what I mean? But nonetheless, you know, we're in a interesting situation right now, you guys, because with this whole presidential race.
What kind of situation?
My story is all about that. I'm so glad I found this story for you guys. How cannabis friendly are potential Biden successors, you guys? That's right, the Biden successors, because, you know, the Democrats are going to have to replace Joe Biden at some point. How they're going to do it is going to be so fun to watch. U.S. President Joe Biden, whose October 2022 executive order launched marijuana rescheduling, the most significant shift in federal cannabis policy in 50 years, will be the Democratic Party's nominee for president. At least that's what Biden had said repeatedly since his performance in a June 27th debate against presumptive Republican challenger and former president champ Donald J. Trump. Heightened concerns about the 81-year-old's incumbent's age and mental acuity. A miniature revolt ensued among donors and major Democratic Party figures, some of whom are considering possible replacements amid concerning poll numbers that suggest Trump could win a second non-consecutive term handily. Biden rejects calls to step down, and despite public calls for Biden to drop out of the race, he says he's staying in. And it's really not Biden saying that. It's actually Jill Biden and Hunter Biden who are saying that. But nonetheless, we're going to continue. He said it on Friday during a prime time interview on ABC News, in which he blamed the bad night of the debate on a cold plus exhaustion. He said it again on Monday morning twice while calling into the MSNBC show Morning Joe, and repeated the vow in a letter circulated to congressional Democrats in this quote: "I want you to know that despite all the speculation in the press and elsewhere, I am firmly committed to staying in this race, to running this race to the end, and to beating Donald Trump," Biden wrote in the letter. In an additional quote, "Any weakening of resolve or lack of clarity about the task ahead only helps Trump and hurts us," Biden says. Possible Biden replacements, but some major Democrats are still hedging their bets, worried that if Biden loses, Trump could torch the president's legacy, including marijuana rescheduling. If Biden does change his mind and bows out, who are candidates to replace him on the Democratic ticket, and what are their records on marijuana, you guys? Well, the front runner that everyone is talking about and is saying is the most likely person is Vice President Kamala Harris. The most likely successor is Vice President Kamala Harris, whose relatively quiet tenure as Biden's designated successor follows turns as a U.S. Senator, California Attorney General, and San Francisco District Attorney. While some critics claimed Harris' record as District Attorney showed support for the war on drugs, the VP has since embraced the Biden administration's line that the federal marijuana policy has been a costly failure. She also repeatedly touted the executive orders of rescheduling marijuana and expanding pardons for nonviolent federal marijuana offenses as proof of the Biden-Harris administration's commitment to tangible criminal justice reform. There seems to be little doubt that President Harris would build on marijuana rescheduling, which promises to unlock profound tax benefits for the $36 billion U.S. marijuana industry. Instead, perceived surrogates such as former Attorney General Bill Barr have spoken out against rescheduling, leading to concerns that a Trump administration would roll back rescheduling, doing away with the Biden-era reforms. And I do want to make a quick note on this, that under Vice President Kamala Harris, when she was the Attorney General in California, there were more raids by camp than under any other previous Attorney General. And when she was the District Attorney in San Francisco, I was on her medical cannabis task force, and there were people that were arrested that were part of the medical cannabis community during that time under her tenure as District Attorney. But nonetheless, we are going to keep on going because everyone loves a good gaslighting. The next person that they're talking about is California Governor Gavin Newsom. Also in the short list is California Governor Gavin Newsom, owning to his full-throated support for adult use marijuana legalization dating to 2012, and his campaigning for California's 2016 adult use ballot initiative. Newsom could be seen as the most cannabis-friendly Democrat on the party's roster. Well, you just would have to look at what Gavin Newsom has done to the California industry over here. just to see how friendly he is to cannabis, but nonetheless. That would be despite California's struggling regulated cannabis industry and gripes from licensed operators that excessive taxes and erroneous regulations continue to strangle what should be the country's strongest legal market. That's right. The next competitor coming up to the stage is Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer. Recent headlines claiming Michigan's regulated cannabis industry is bigger than California highlight the legal marijuana is strong and entrenched around the Great Lakes, and Michigan Governor Gretchen Whitmer has played a role in that. It was Whitmer who cleaned house, dissolving the corrupt Michigan Marijuana Licensing Board shortly after taking office in 2019. They still never found that $40,000 from the veterans or whatnot, but nonetheless, I like how they painted that. And it was also Whitmer who signed into law tougher regulations for intoxicating hemp-derived cannabinoids back in July of 2021. But Whitmer on Monday tossed cold water on the Biden succession rumors, telling the Associated Press that such talk is a distraction. But she does lead a longtime Democratic Party stronghold in Michigan, where Trump won in 2016, and support for Biden is flagging among Arab Americans because of U.S. support for the war in Gaza. Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear are also on that list. Deeper on the bench, but appealing to strategists concerned with winning over independent voters are Democratic governors representing swing states or red states. That would include Pennsylvania Governor Josh Shapiro and Kentucky Governor Andy Beshear, both of whom have demonstrated themselves to be cannabis-friendly. Partisan gridlock is bottoming up adult use legalization bills in Pennsylvania legislature, where Republicans in the state Senate have said they won't consider marijuana reform until the federal government changes its tune. But Shapiro's position is clear. His annual budget address in February banked $250 million in revenue from regulated cannabis taxed at 20%. While totally aspirational, that steep levy will spook state licensed operators, but Shapiro's overall message on marijuana is here. It's legal, it's welcome vibe, shift from the obscenity and obstructionism of the recent past, he says. In Kentucky, which has sent Republican Senator Mitch McConnell a frequent fail for Democratic leaders and one of the credited assassins of the safe banking bill to Washington, D.C. since 1985. The medical marijuana licensing process began back in July 1st following an MMJ bill that Beshear signed into law back in March of 2023. In a sign of how that went over with Kentucky's reliably Republican voting record in presidential races, Beshear was reelected last fall by a wider margin than his initial 2019 win. The state also has regulated hemp-derived cannabinoids under a bill, and Beshear signed into law last year. Kentucky law forbids a governor from serving a third consecutive 4-year term, so Beshear will need to seek another office if he wants to continue his political career. But he's already nixed the idea of running for McConnell's seat in 2016. And of course, there's also Illinois Governor J.B. Pritzker. Also coming up in the conversation is another avowed marijuana legalization supporter. That's right, Governor J.B. Pritzker. The independently wealthy governor and heir to the Hyatt hotel fortune might not convincingly critique income inequality or malign the influence of billionaires, as Biden recently has done. But Pritzker is clear on marijuana. He pitched legalization back in 2018, and after signing a bill into law that launched the state's sales in 2020, he has proudly touted a statewide industry that's grown every year since. Well, that completes the article, you guys, with a little bit of commentary from myself, but I'm going to tell you right now that the Democrats only have one hope. They only have one candidate who has actually been elected by the primary, and that's President Joe Biden, so they need to just keep on running with him, and I totally support that initiative because he is the only one that has went through the democratic process. The only other possible person that I think that they actually should consider replacing him with is, I think the only hope the Democrats have is to throw in Bernie Sanders, who is not mentioned in this thing, but I think that's the only lifeline that the Democrats could possibly have if they want to replace Biden. But I can't wait to hear what you guys have to say about this.
The fact that their lifelines are both dead is crazy to me.
I see Rico Lamitte for president.
But Bernie Sanders is way more alive than Biden.
That's true.
For sure.
That is true.
That Bernie's the man. Bernie's the man. And if they wanna actually win this election, they better listen to Jason Beck. He said it first. Put Bernie in there. I'm sure all of the young people in America and probably globally would agree with that. I think I would actually agree with that personally as well. I might even vote for Bernie Sanders. Maybe, you never know if he gets up there. But they already stole it from him once. So
exactly,
that's just a dream. That's
what I'm saying. That's what I'm saying.
Redemption.
That's exactly why they won't run him.
Oh man, I mean, I just want to see Debbie Wasserman
how about you pick somebody,
the head of the DNC? What a pain in the ass.
What's that, Rico?
How about they pick somebody who hasn't been on Earth for 8? How about they pick somebody who hasn't been on Earth for 8 decades?
I don't think they have anybody that's electable. In all seriousness, if we went down the numbers, they don't have anyone that's electable.
If we're discussing
I don't know, Josh Shapiro.
They should put
Josh Shapiro, pot friendly, nice Jewish boy.
Yeah, okay.
No,
I don't think he has enough name recognition. Todd.
Donald Trump was our president. No. Listen. Donald Trump was president. How dare you say somebody is not electable? Anybody is electable in this country.
And we're going to do it again.
Really
Anybody.
I mean, if we're talking strictly from a stance of where they stand on cannabis, which is what the article is about, right?
That's a crock of shit.
Oh, here we go.
I mean, here's the thing. I'm going to take a shot at Vice President Harris for a second, and I'm going to take a shot at her because I've followed her career since the beginning because she came up in Northern California and San Francisco. Biden got the wrong black female vice president. That Stacey Abrams lady, on the other hand, has shown a lot of backbone and would have been a fantastic VP choice. And so I think that the Democratic Party has a lot more talent and depth and on their bench. And as Saman said, they bastardized the situation when they installed Clinton instead of Senator Bernie and Bernie and also Elizabeth Warren. So they've had some people that could have really taken a good run and been more activating for the base, but they've chosen to go to that centrist place where there's not a lot of differentiation. And you can see that at least demographically with the two candidates that are up for consideration.
Well, they picked the black female vice president who stood on the necks of black and brown people in California in order to get to where she was to begin with. So I think, like, if we're looking at this article, which is about their stance on cannabis, which we haven't really touched on, I think her track record shows that I don't care what she's saying or backing now. What she's done is done. And so, I'm all for people changing, but I don't think that you do that
of the left
of a 180.
She's the Sarah Palin of the left. Like, why would you ever want that person to be one heartbeat away from the presidency?
Exactly.
Trump used to be pro-choice.
I think you're looking at this thing wrong. Right. Yeah, I think that you're looking at this thing wrong, Yarrow. I think you're looking at it all wrong, because all of these people have warts. They've all been in the game for a long time. They're all trash. That's right. Period.
But she slept with Willie Brown, so it's genital.
Hold on, whoa. She got elected because she gave fellatio to Willie Brown in the back of a limo.
100%, and that's why she's been so quiet as vice president, because she never had anything to say.
No, don't even go there. Come on, it's not.
That's how she got elected to DA. That's how she got elected to DA in San Francisco. That's how she started her political career, on her knees.
It can be inconvenient, but it's true.
Allegedly.
It's true.
I'm not even going there. It's not cool. Let's not take the show there.
She is the original.
What I'm going to say here is that
do you have video of that?
Trash.
Is there video available of that?
Look, they're all trash. Like, all of them are trash. Period. So I mean, you're gonna pick this nice garbage can over here. You're gonna have this like back alley dumpster over there. They're all fucking trash. But the alternative,
no, that's not the truth. The truth is, we get the opportunity.
Hold on, one at a time.
Like, what are the Republicans gonna offer? Pick one of these motherfuckers.
Why are we still debating?
Like, if you're a pro cannabis,
one person at a time, please.
My point exactly. Yeah, my point exactly. 70+% of the country right now identifies as independent. Nobody's going after.
Well, I don't buy that, because if that was the case, Kennedy's numbers would be way up. So I don't buy that. I'm not buying that.
Here's the reality: is everyone,
they're not going to vote for a guy.
Citizens are disenfranchised with the system, and the system needs to change. And so everyone just debating between the two shitty choices is just perpetuating the shitty system, right?
It is.
I just heard Rico advocate for Bernie Sanders. He said Bernie it down. Just saying. Just saying.
I'm burning it up.
Yeah.
Let's go.
And on that, we are way over time, you guys.
Anybody, I advocate for people who are. I advocate for people who are not senior citizens to be president. That's it.
Okay. All right. So you believe in an age gap?
Ageism.
Yeah, you're an ageist.
Wow. I believe you should not have. I believe you should not be able to go to Old Country Buffet and get a free meal to be president.
Make sure Rico's never a nurse in a nursing home.
Recognize
it's not habeas corpus. It's habeas.
You hate me so much, Rico.
Rico, the 80-year-old inside of me is deeply offended.
Issues. Right. No, you should be able to empathize with the people who are voting for you, and neither one of these candidates can do that.
And fair enough. We got to roll. We got to keep this train rolling. We're like way over time today. We're going to roll right in to the voice himself, Mr. Todd Denkin. He's the founder of DigiPath Labs and the Digital Smuggleverse, where you can buy all of your digital dank. That's right. Isn't none other than the voice himself, Mr. Todd Denkin.
Thank you very much. No, go on, really.
Oh, that was fun. That was fun, you guys.
North Dakota marijuana campaign turns in more than enough signatures to put legalization on the November ballot. North Dakota activists have turned in what they believe to be more than enough signatures to put a marijuana legalization initiative on the November ballot. New Economic Frontier said on Monday they submitted 22,444 signatures to qualify the measure. In order to make the ballot, they will need at least 15,582 of those to be valid. It's a weird claim. The campaign previously announced that it had reached the halfway point for signatures last month.
Let's put a poll up.
Middlestead, a campaign committee member, stressed in a press release on Monday that activists, quote, didn't just meet the requirement, we blew past it, and that's no accident. He wanted to send a clear message that North Dakota is ready for this change. Even if some signatures don't make the cut, we're confident voters will have their say come November, he said. While some have raised concerns about the measure not addressing specific tax laws, it's important to understand that those details are the legislature's responsibility, not ours. Our job is to bring this issue to the ballot, letting North Dakotans decide on the principle. A recent poll signals that the campaign does have its work cut out for them. However, with a majority of likely North Dakota voters opposing the cannabis measure as activists neared the finish line to collect enough signatures for qualification. A survey from the founder of Independent Political Action Committee, Brighter Future Alliance, found that 57% of voters are against the cannabis reform measure, compared to 43% who are in favor. The Economic Frontier filed its initiative with the state and formally launched the campaign in April. Under the legalization measure, adults 21 and older would be able to possess up to 1 ounce of marijuana flower, 4 grams of concentrate, and 300 milligrams of edibles that they could buy from a limited number of licensed dispensaries. Adults could also grow up to 3 plants for personal use, with a 6-plant cap per household. State Department of Health and Human Services or another agency designated by the legislature would be responsible for regulating the program. Regulators would need to establish rules to implement the law by October 1st, 2025. North Dakota voters rejected an earlier cannabis legalization proposal at the ballot box 2 years ago. The new proposal would limit regulators to approving licenses for up to 7 manufacturers and 18 retailers. There are also provisions meant to avoid creating intrastate monopolies, such as limiting licensees to no more than 4 dispensaries. Currently, there are 8 medical cannabis dispensaries operating in North Dakota. The initiative requires regulators to develop separate application processes for those businesses to become dual licenses and non-existing companies that wish to become recreational operators. Unlike other legal states, the proposal in North Dakota doesn't appear to contain criminal justice reform components favored by equity advocates such as expungements or licensing prioritization for people harmed by the war on drugs. It also doesn't seem to contain any references to a proposed tax scheme for legal sales. 2021, North Dakota's House approved a marijuana legalization bill sponsored by Representative Jason Doctor, a Republican, but it was ultimately defeated in the Senate after advancing through committee. Following that defeat, some senators devised a new plan to advance the issue by referring it to voters on the 2022 ballot. Resolution moved through a key committee in 2021, but the Senate also blocked it. There have been repeated attempts by activists to enact legalization in the Peace Garden state over the years. Advocates with the separate group North Dakota Cannabis Caucus started collecting signatures to qualify a constitutional amendment legalizing cannabis for the 2022 ballot, but they did not gather enough by the deadline. To approach North Dakota previously led an effort to place a legalization measure on the 2018 ballot, and that was defeated by voters. They filed another initiative for 2020, but signature gathering complications, largely caused by the coronavirus pandemic, got in the way. North Dakota voters approved a medical cannabis ballot measure in 2016. Last year, North Dakota's governor signed a bill allowing patients admitted to hospice care to self-certify as medical marijuana patients. North Dakota House of Representatives also approved a resolution last year that encourages residents, listen to this, to buy U.S. flags that are made out of hemp and manufactured in the state. I'm Todd Denkin with High at 9 News, and do you think North effing Dakota is about to go legal? What do you guys think?
North Dakota, man, this is good news for North Dakotans right here. They sound like they're pretty active going on over there. I think this is fantastic news.
A lot of people. I agree.
North Dakota expanded recently because of all of the oil and gas in the last few years, but like that's all they have up there. It's I think Minot, the Air Force base up there, and then they have they have the oil and gas, and then so cannabis is the only logical economic choice I think for places.
Fracking.
I thought the water buffalo industry was pretty prominent up there.
Oh wow.
I mean, Jace, if you're a water buffalo,
the white people killed
Not a water buffalo, but a buffalo.
What would
American buffalo?
Water buffalo?
American buffalo. Yeah.
They'll drink water.
Yo,
I mean, even though I'm not a big
fucking money for fracking, bro.
Cracking, even though this doesn't include the social equity component, even though this includes limits on how much people can possess, I'm super pleased at the fact that this does include home grow and that houses are allowed to grow 6 plants. And I think that for me, that's the litmus test about whether people are trying to just promote commerce or they're trying to promote access. And so because it includes a home grow, I'm 2 thumbs up.
2 thumbs up. Look at that. Everyone agrees. Look at that. Can we get a little bell ring or something like that, Adam? Since everyone is agreeing, do we got anything like that over there? Of like a bell ringing. Everybody agreed on this. Oh, there we go. We got some chimes, you guys. And on that, we're gonna roll into a commercial, and we're gonna be right back.
Not my son.
The Control Tower from Highly Educated has perfected the dab. Utilizing the concept of thin film evaporation, you can waste none of it and taste all of it. The micro texture of the SE pillar increases nucleation at elevated temperatures. And with the tower propelling at 2,600 RPMs, it's certainly the most efficient dab experience to date. The Control Tower from Highly Educated.
All right, stop whatever you're doing. Make sure you hit that like button. I know we'll appreciate it, you'll appreciate it, and YouTube will appreciate it. Also, make sure you subscribe to the channel if you've not subscribed already. And all of the articles that we cover on today's show, you can find directly on our website at www.highat9news.com. And one last quick thing, we want to thank all of you tuning in because last night we hit 750,000 views on this channel. We are on our way to 1 million, and we want to thank you all so much for watching.
Absolutely.
I'm Jason Beck, and this is Smoky Vanilla. And if you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to get a stretch and smoke with Smoky Vanilla.
Hi, I'm Smoky Vanilla. I have my bachelor's degree in kinesiology, and I'm a sports massage therapist and stretch coach. I focus mostly on individuals that are in sport with chronic pain or injury. I love to intuitively create and customize a session based on the individual that I'm working with. We'll go over a few postural assessments, work together to create a wellness journey based on the health history, past injuries, or anything still affecting you today. And we'll get you back on your feet right away with less pain.
We're about to stretch, and then we're gonna smoke, because we're gonna get on our stretch and smoke. If you want to feel as good as I look, then you need to come on down and get a stretch and smoke with none other than Smoky Vanilla.
Rico, you with us?
Our next correspondent, conservative Southern roots, guarantee her stories will always be delivered with the proper amount of spice and sauce. She's behind Cannabis Consulting and also Justice Serves 501c3. Coming to the stage next, y'all know who it is, Jenny Beth Dills. What you got for us, JBD?
Well, a welcome break from U.S. politics today. Let's talk about Germany. German officials approved country's first marijuana social club since legalization took effect. Germany's first marijuana social club has officially been approved just 1 week after the law allowing such permitting took effect. Lower Saxony Minister of Agriculture Miriam Staudt announced that her office awarded the permit to social club Ganderkies on Monday. It will allow the cooperative to begin cultivating marijuana for members, the latest development in the implementation of Germany's legalization law. Other permits are expected to follow across the country in the upcoming weeks. While certain states, such as Bavaria, have signaled that they will exercise their authority to impose restrictions and make it so permits will not be awarded until fall at earliest. Staudt, for her part, said the first permit issuance represents a historic step for consumer protection and controlled cannabis cultivation in Germany, according to a translation. It became legal in Germany for adults to possess and cultivate marijuana for personal use in April, but there's so far been no means of legally obtaining cannabis otherwise. The clubs will each be limited to having 500 members and selling up to 50 grams of marijuana per each person per month. You guys have to follow those limits. The social clubs, the cannabis social clubs are on an important part of the fight against the black market, Carmen Wege, a lawmaker with the Social Democratic Party, said last week, according to a translation. Even if you don't have a particularly green thumb, a CSC is certainly a good alternative. Meanwhile, advocates and stakeholders are still awaiting the government's plan for the second pillar of the law that's expected to provide for a broader commercial sales model. Last month, German lawmakers also approved a series of changes to the country's marijuana legalization law, imposing restrictions related to impaired driving and giving states more authority to set limits on cannabis cultivation within their borders. The amendments were the result of an earlier agreement between the federal government and legislators that was made in order to avoid a months-long delay in the implementation of the legalization law. One of the changes gives states greater flexibility to set restrictions on cultivation at cooperatives that are now able to start dispensing cannabis to members. The regional governments will be able to impose limits on the size of the cooperatives' canopies. A separate measure that federal lawmakers adopted last month sets a per se THC limit for impaired driving. The legislation, which has proved more controversial given a lack of scientific evidence supporting the efficacy of such policies, makes it so drivers would be considered impaired if they have more than 3.5 nanograms of THC in their blood. So we all just failed, and Jason blowing my face failed me too. The amendment also bans driving if a person has used both marijuana and alcohol regardless of the amount. Meanwhile, Health Minister Karl Lauterbach, who has led the government's cannabis legalization efforts, told members of the Bundestag in December that we are currently examining the commercial sales plan as a part of the second pillar. But with legalization in effect, there has been increased pressure to expedite that process. You just want to use that word.
I happen to know it.
Bundestag. The federal council representing individual states previously tried to block the now enacted legalization proposal last September, but it ultimately failed. While Germany's federal cabinet approved the initial framework for a legalization measure in late 2022, the government also said it wanted to get a sign-off from the EU to ensure that implementing the reform wouldn't put them in violation of their international obligations, which it will. Officials took a first step towards legalization in 2022, kicking off a series of hearings meant to help inform legislation to end prohibition in the country. Germany last November to discuss international marijuana policy issues as the host nation works to enact legalization. A group of German lawmakers, as well as Narcotic Drug Commissioner Beck Rico, where was that one, Jason? Separately visited the U.S. and toured California cannabis businesses in 2022 to inform their country's approach to legalization. The visit came after top officials from Germany, Luxembourg, Malta, and the Netherlands held a first-of-its-kind meeting to discuss plans and challenges associated with recreational marijuana legalization. Leaders of the coalition government said in 2021 that they had reached an agreement to end cannabis prohibition and enact regulations for a legal industry, and they first previewed certain details of that plan in 2022. A novel international survey released in 2022 found majority support for legalization in several key European countries, including Germany. Meanwhile, the United Nations drug control body recently reiterated that it considers legalizing marijuana for non-medical or scientific purposes a violation of international treaties, though it also said it appreciates that Germany's government scaled back its cannabis plan ahead of the recent vote. I think it's really interesting, and I think, acknowledging some of those social clubs already have 500 members. Their people of Germany are very excited to be able to have access to this plant medicine, and I think that it's exciting that we're finally moving forward. I also like to note that Germany signed the first license way quicker than anywhere in America has ever done after legalizing, right? A week. So it's exciting to see things moving forward.
You mean issued as opposed to signed, right?
Issued.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess people have signed a lot and those still aren't open.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, boy.
Just want to make sure we make that distinction.
Yeah, well, that's fair enough.
So apparently in Germany, they're more efficient. I mean, they do make the best cars. So
they do make the best
not surprised
cars.
by this.
They really like Ford, which is weird. Swear to God, Mustangs.
They had Nazi roots.
Whoa.
And they love California cannabis.
They do love California cannabis. That is true. Have you ever been to Germany and had California cannabis with you?
Yep.
It's a socialist country,
allegedly.
Jason.
Germany is not a socialist country like that. Stop it.
What the fuck you mean?
Like what? Like what?
What? Hey, Adam, can I get a stop cap?
Let's talk about the bigger elephant.
Go for it, Saman. Go for it, Saman.
It's not just Germany that likes California cannabis. It's the whole fucking world that likes California cannabis. Let's be honest.
That's the elephant?
Yeah, but like the Germans, they got money.
Bigger than the
New York.
They do have money.
They got euros, bro, and those are worth more than dollars.
Definitely.
Yeah, it's that efficiency. It's that German efficiency. They're good.
But they killed over 10 million people over their lifetime, so they should mellow out and smoke some weed for sure.
Wow.
It should. Jenny Beth, thank you for covering this story. It's you pronounce it Bundesstaat.
Yeah.
And surely go.
What I would like to say is, what I would like to say is about these that opened up. What I like to say about these ones that have opened up, big ups to them, but the 500 members is their cap, right? Mm-hmm. Of how many that they can have.
Stop the cap.
So there's a ton of people who do. Yeah. So there's a ton of people who do not have access.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, exactly.
Right,
100%. 100%.
And they're also similarly to here, making them push these places way out of cities and into some very rural areas. So it also makes it very difficult to get to them.
Yeah, I think it's going to be a self-fulfilling prophecy by the suppressors of this. You know how the Polizei we're talking about, like,
Polizei.
Oh yeah, these social clubs are going to. It said that these social clubs are going to be a breeding ground for people trying to push the illegal drug trade. I think that's inevitable. It's going to happen because not enough people have access to these clubs, right? Oh. Like you can only be, you can only have access to that club, and you can only have, was it like 50 grams of cannabis like a month if you're at those clubs?
I mean,
like,
look, that's to say that
I see a mad shortage.
Yeah, but that's to say that Germany in general is as strict on cannabis as America, and that's not true. All of Europe is way more free. I mean, just anything in Europe is way more free. I mean, like the sex trade, all those things are all way more open.
No, Saman, you missed the story. You missed the story last week. Since last week alone, they pulled over 3,000 people 3,000 people of suspecting them of driving high.
Yeah,
they're already cracking the whip.
But that's not the like access issue, right? That's enforcement on the civil level. So like we're talking about access. We're talking about is this open and free? It's like we in America had obviously a long history with cannabis. It's been underground though, but like in Europe, it's just more broadly accepted, and not just cannabis. Like obviously drug use in Europe is probably much more free and open as opposed to like the United States, but it's still illegal obviously. So I mean there's just no comparison. European society versus American society, the way they view these things, substances, social taboos that we hold as taboos here are not that way in Europe. So I just think like what this is going to do,
I agree with that.
What this will do for Europe is it will unify a lot of those things, and it'll bring a huge emergence of the industry that's been there. But it'll mostly be, I feel like it's mostly going to be the American brands and like American genetics, U.S. genetics, California genetics. They're going to make their way. That are really going to make the bigger impact on the scene, on the industry in Europe, in Germany specifically.
100%. They pulled out Alien Labs and they pulled out obviously Trap and Jungle Boys when I was there, and it was really interesting to see them pulling out the Trap packaging. I was like, yeah, that's not right, because I looked at the flower. I'm like, that's not it. But the fact that that's going to be the name recognition there, and they already know what it is. Like when we get them the heat, that'll be really nice.
Well,
yeah, and this is what I'm saying. The trap is going to thrive there.
They already are.
Period.
They just had a whole trap event out there just a couple weeks ago.
Everywhere.
Yeah.
Yep. Everywhere.
Yep.
I mean,
there's not enough access, and then you're giving your entire industry over to Canadian booth up there too. So like it is a breeding ground for the trap to thrive. Is what is my point.
Everywhere is. I mean, the trap is never.
Hold on a second. Hold on a second, guys.
Everywhere.
Hold on. We got to make sure that we make mention of the C word. Thank you so much, the C word. He says, I am too exhausted to celebrate hash all week in SF. So,
yes, and then also Troy, my man Troy, said the black market focus, tax open the damn market.
Yes. Stopping black markets. Focus a tax open damn market. Open the damn market. I'm with you on that. Open the damn market. We want a free market.
Open it up.
Yarrow, do you have enough time to read your story?
Yeah, I would love to do that.
All right. We're gonna roll right on in to the man with the smallest amount of time today, Mr. Yarrow D. Kubrin.
That's the best intro you've ever given him.
Stop it. The best intro was yesterday.
Short and sweet.
Man of tomorrow. Yarrow.
Good morning. Tuesday, July 9th. Hi at 9 News viewers. This is Yarrow Kubrin. My article today is about Florida. And so without further ado, from the Tallahassee.com, published this morning, Florida's Libertarian Party backs Amendment 3, recreational marijuana ballot measure. The Libertarian Party of Florida on Tuesday endorsed the recreational marijuana amendment appearing on the state's 2024 election ballot. The Libertarian Party of Florida is pleased to endorse Amendment 3, which marks a significant step forward in the legalization of marijuana, said Matthew Johnson, the party's vice chair and communications committee chair, in a statement. This amendment reflects the growing recognition that individuals should have the freedom to make their own choices regarding cannabis use. Amendment 3, if it gets at least 60% of the vote in November, would allow non-medical marijuana possession of up to 3 ounces with no more than 5 grams in concentrate form for those 21 years older and up. But the party also says the amendment doesn't go far enough since it doesn't allow homegrown cannabis. That would ensure individuals have the ability to control their own supply and reduce dependence on commercial entities, Johnson said. Among other things, the party stands for the proposition that all individuals have the right to exercise sole dominion over their own lives and have the right to live in whatever manner they choose, so long as they do not forcibly interfere with the equal rights of others to live in whatever manner they choose. Smart and Safe Florida, the group behind the amendment, has largely been funded by TrueLeaf, Florida's largest medical marijuana operator. This announcement by the Libertarian Party of Florida is not only an endorsement of legalizing adult use marijuana, but also a testament to their steadfast commitment to bolstering individual liberty, said Morgan Hill, spokesperson for Smart and Safe Florida, in a statement. We're proud to have support from all sides, transcending partisan politics, all affirming that our campaign to create a safer Florida is universally the best path forward for all Floridians. The amendment has faced stiff opposition from GOP leaders in the state, including Governor Ron DeSantis, who accuses it of being written very broad and says it would make the state reek of weed. This is Yarrow Kubrin, High at 9 News. I'd like to hear what my other panelists have to think.
I literally hate that excuse about reeking of weed. I just hate hearing that. It's like chalk. I mean, it's like nails on a chalkboard to me.
Well, in all fairness, Todd. I mean, one thing I think most people don't realize, or the average smoker, is that out in Florida is very humid. I think everyone knows that. But what most people don't know is that that humidity, with all that moisture in the air, when you are smoking that loud out in the streets, the humidity really masks a lot of that smell from 100 feet away, anything like that. It's not like that like it is out here in California. Or even in Nevada.
I did not know that. You can smell it everywhere in Nevada, but who cares?
Who cares? I'm going to call bullshit. Jason, I've smoked a lot of weed with you in Florida, and people were looking at us hella funny.
Yeah, but they were right next to us, Saman. I'm talking about the people like a little bit of a distance away.
I mean,
hey, Saman, they were looking at y'all funny because they couldn't tell if you were Hispanic or Indian. They knew you were
or Middle Eastern.
They didn't know how to handle
or Cuban. He could have been Cuban.
If the government asked, I'm Italian.
You could have been Cuban.
Hey.
That's right.
Yeah.
Hey, man. Mm-hmm. What my empanada?
These damn snowbirds are taking over.
And Michael Minardi, who's in the chat and has been on the show, he's an attorney out there in Florida. He said people will bring 20 joints to schools. LOL. and so
joints? There'll be K2 and spice joints.
No.
By the DeSantis campaign.
I was for a while. I was trying to figure out exactly why he said 20. I was like, why did he come up with that? How did that number pop in his head? Because he didn't just pull that number out of nowhere. Like, he has some reason for using it, and I finally figured it out. And it actually makes a lot of sense if you understand how he's thinking and how he's viewing it. So the number 20.
Dude, he's snitching on himself.
So the number 20 is how many cigarettes are in a pack of cigarettes. And so he's envisioning everyone selling packs of weed cigarettes in his mind when he's saying this.
Ain't nobody buy packs of cigarettes
that is exactly what he is envisioning. That's exactly what he is envisioning.
Here's what I'm envisioning. Besides the fact that I have to do the Irish goodbye and hop, I'm envisioning a world in which Jason, a staunch Republican advocate who has complimented Ron DeSantis on this show, I'm envisioning a world where you can explain to me why the leader of that party in that state is opposed to this expansion of personal freedoms and liberties.
He needs to evolve on the issue. I've said that plenty of times. I'm not sticking up for his position on that. I stick up for his positions on a lot of other issues. But no, he needs to evolve on this issue 100%.
Yeah, because his position is an imposition, and it is incongruent with the Republican stated platform of personal freedoms and less restrictions on liberties. And so when you've got sort of broad bipartisan support for this, including the Libertarian Party coming on board, I just my hope for him is that he aligns himself with the right side of history on this.
Mm-hmm. Well,
I know there was a lot of political chatter on today's show and everything, but I think it's very fitting that your story, Yarrow, is how the Libertarian Party is going against their leader of the state, just like the National Libertarian Party booed the presumptive candidate off the fucking stage at their convention. What's going on here, Jason?
Wait, what are you saying?
Changing.
What are you saying?
Donald Trump Donald Trump being booed off the stage at the Libertarian Convention.
Oh, that's because they're I can tell you exactly right now why that is, because the Libertarian Party is split in half. They're totally divided in two. They're almost worse than the Democrats are right now, because their party really isn't even a party like that. Like the Democrats at least are a party and have money. But the independents are just as split or fractioned as the Democrats as far as what we're watching right now unfold before our very eyes.
Burn it down, man. Burn it down.
You ready for Saman, Rico? You ready for Saman?
No answer to that.
I just gave you the answer. I just told you why. Because they're fractured. There's a far left side on the independent side, and there's a more generally conservative side on the independent side, and there's a divide within that party right now.
Yeah, because the Libertarian Party is technically anarchists, so they understand what's going on.
It's a divide in every party.
Anarchy, that's what you call wanting liberty. That's pretty wild, Rico. That's pretty crazy. That's a new one.
I mean, he's been having new ones.
No, it really is.
I mean,
No,
accountability isn't anarchy, bro. Wanting accountability from the public officials is not anarchy. I definitely admire.
Look up the definition of anarchy, and you will be very, very surprised, Yarrow. But I'm not going to dive into that.
Hold on 1 second. Hold on 1 second, you guys.
Look it up.
You guys are going to love this. Love this. Brian Dombrowski in the chat says, "Holy shit. This is about his fight with True Leave, and that is it." So Brian is saying that DeSantis is in a fight.
Yes, Brian.
With that's right, with True Leave, Kim Rivers.
Can we bring Brian on the show, because
did so well with.
Can we bring him on the show?
Yeah. Brian, reach out. Let's have a little Florida chat. I think we should get Michael Minardi involved in this too. I think this would be fun to have a little Florida discussion about what has happened, and maybe we'll do that as a separate standalone video by itself.
Saturday
absolutely
show.
But for right now, he's a dope dad with over 15 years of experience helping develop products in Colorado, California, Florida, Massachusetts, and New Jersey. He's award-winning solvent extraction pioneer, forever a student of the game. And you know what? Today, he's dropping a little Taco About It Tuesday knowledge and bringing us home. Saman Razani.
Thank you.
The ambiguously melanated.
Amazing. Much respect to all my people that don't have a bubble on the multiple choice race question on most federal forms.
Oh boy.
Pacific Island.
Texas activists turn in signatures to put marijuana decriminalization on the local ballot in Bastrop, Texas. This article comes from Marijuana Moment, Kyle Yeager reporting. Guys, more out of Texas, and another governor that needs to change his tune on cannabis. Activists in Bastrop, Texas have turned in what they believe to be enough signatures to put a marijuana decriminalization initiative on the local November ballot. Ground Game Texas, which supported the campaign that's being led by a Democratic candidate for the State House of Representatives, announced on Monday that advocates submitted more than 600 signatures for ballot placement. They needed approximately 400 to be validated in order to qualify. Desiree Venable or Venable, I'm gonna say both, I don't know. The Democratic candidate running against incumbent Rep. Stan Gertis, Republican, said in a press release that the cannabis reform petition is an example of true democracy and a power we have as community members to implement legislation that directly affects our wants and needs. The criminalization of marijuana strips us of our individual freedoms and diminishes our opportunities to start a career or access higher education, she said. The decriminalization of marijuana is a necessary step toward the broader criminal justice reform we so desperately need. Ground Game Texas Executive Director Katina Vollinger, however you pronounce that, added the Bastrop Freedom Act will advance racial justice and prevent the waste of scarce public resources. This comes about 2 weeks after activists in Dallas turned in almost 50,000 signatures to put decriminalization on the city's ballot. Voters in multiple Texas cities have enacted the local decriminalization policies, but the movement has had ups and downs. For example, in a win for advocates, a Texas district court judge last month dismissed a lawsuit from the Republican state attorney general who sought to overturn a local voter-approved marijuana decriminalization initiative in Austin. This means the cannabis reform measure approved by voters in 2022 remains effective, pending any potential appeal from Attorney General Ken Paxton, Republican, to a higher court. Paxton's office filed lawsuits against the cities of Austin, San Marcos, Killeen, Elgin, and Denton over the decriminalization policies that voters passed at the ballot over the recent years. Meanwhile, activists in Lockhart recently returned in what they say are more than enough signatures to qualify cannabis decriminalization initiative for the local ballot this November. In a setback from advocates, however, voters in Lubbock rejected a separate cannabis reform initiative last month. Governor Greg Abbott, Republican, has separately lashed out against the municipal cannabis reform efforts. Local communities such as towns, cities, and counties that don't have any authority to override state law, the governor said in May, if they want to see a different law passed, they need to work with their legislators. But let's legislate to work and make sure that the state, as a state, will pass some of the law. Which is interesting that he said that. He said it would lead to chaos and create an unworkable system for voters and in individual cities to be picking and choosing the laws they want to abide by under the state statute. So counterintuitive from Mr. Greg Abbott. Greg Abbott has previously said he doesn't believe people should be in jail over marijuana possession, although he mistakenly suggested at the time that Texas had already enacted a decriminalization policy to that end. Paxton, the state attorney general, used more inflammatory rhetoric when his office announced in January that it was suing 5 cities over the local law decriminalizing marijuana that voters approved, vowing to overrule the quote-unquote anarchy, Rico, of pro-crime extremists who advocate for reform. I think we actually covered that story on this show back in January.
Anarchy.
In general, the measures that have already been enacted in Austin, Denton, Elgin, Harker Heights, and Killeen and San Marcos prevent police from making arrests or issuing citations for Class A or Class B misdemeanor cannabis possession offenses, unless it's part of a high-priority felony investigation for narcotics or a violent crime. Shortly after voters in Harker Heights approved their measure, the city council overturned the ordinance over concerns that it conflicted with state law. But activists collected signatures for another initiative and successfully repealed the repeal last year. Though officials have still refused to move forward with implementing the will of voters, in November, Ground Game released a report that looked at the impacts of marijuana reform laws. It found that the measures will keep hundreds of people out of jail, even as they have led to blowback from law enforcement in some cities. The initiatives have also driven voter turnout by being on the ballot, the reporter said. Another cannabis decriminalization measure went before the voters of San Antonio last May, was overwhelmingly defeated. But the proposal also included unrelated provisions to prevent enforcement of abortion restrictions. At the state level last year, the Texas House of Representatives passed a series of bills to decriminalize marijuana, facilitate expungements, and allow chronic pain patients to access medical cannabis as an opioid alternative. But they ultimately stalled out in the Senate, which has been a theme for the cannabis reform measures in the conservative legislature over several sessions. The House passed similar cannabis decriminalization proposals during the past 2 legislative sessions in 2021 and 2019. Separately, a Texas Democratic senator brought the issue of marijuana legalization to the Senate floor last May, seeking to achieve an unrelated resolution and an amendment that would have allowed Texans to vote on ending prohibition at the ballot box. But the symbolic proposal was ultimately shut down. Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick, Republican, agreed to another member's point of order, deeming the cannabis amendment not germane to the broader legislation. That's pretty much it. Texas is a battleground state for cannabis, and Greg Abbott has an interesting stance and a history with cannabis legalization. And Jason, I know you have spoken.
What do you mean sits? An interesting sits because he doesn't really stand.
Oh, that was good. That was good.
Too soon?
Yeah, that's a low blow.
I just came
that's
in.
A low blow.
I had to come back for the handicap discrimination. That was. I mean, I just try to be the spiciest piece of salsa in the taco, but you just one-upped me at another level. I have to chime in on this for a quick second.
Go for it, Yarrow. Go for it.
I have to chime in on this for a second, okay? Because I just want to quote Mr. Abbott, and I hope everybody else is sitting down for this, because I think it points to the lack of logic and the gaps in his construct, okay? Abbott says local communities such as towns, cities, and counties, they don't have the authority to override state law, the governor said. If they want to see a different law passed, they need to work with the legislators. Let's legislate to make sure that the state, as a state, will pass some of the laws. And he said this in response to the fact that there have been local ballot initiatives where the voters had voted to decriminalize marijuana. Okay. And so what Abbott is saying is, at the local level, you can't do something that is inconsistent with state law. Well, that doesn't make any sense because Abbott's an attorney, I believe, and his state law is already inconsistent with federal law. So if you're going to have it one way, you have to have it one way. But if you want to have it both ways, that's a lack of logic. So we have state law that's inconsistent with federal law, and he's okay with that. But he's saying that local law that's inconsistent with state law, he's not okay with. That tends to indicate that you're talking out of both sides of your mouth.
No, I agree. I think Yarrow, in the layman's term, is trying to say that Greg Abbott's full of shit, and that he can't stand on the principles and morals of the Republican Party and say that we want small government, we want to have states' rights, and we want to move ahead, and then turn around and say that the localities, the municipalities, and the people within that state aren't actually entitled to that same sovereignty, and to say, hey, we want to actually determine our own freedom, our own future. I think that's where everything gets fucked up, and I think that's where the Socratic philosophy comes into play here, right? Nothing can be quite the utopia because human nature is to consume that power and to break the will of their fellow man. So how do we get past this? But I want to hear from Jason, because Jason's had actual face-to-face conversations and sit-downs with the seated man himself. So Jason, what do you have to say?
I mean, he has
with Dan Patrick.
What's that?
No, with Abbott.
I mean, Abbott is another one. He needs to evolve a little bit more on the issue. I think he would be a lot more movable currently than DeSantis is on this issue as of right now, mainly because DeSantis has already basically planted his flag in the ground and wouldn't want to be seen as a type of retreating or
pot guy.
Yeah,
pot guy.
Yeah, he's already taken money from some very 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 wealthy people.
That's right.
In regards to on this in particular thing. So I don't expect him to change his positioning at all. But Governor Abbott still could be persuaded with the right types of conversation.
Because he hasn't taken lots of money from somebody.
But he's got a track record.
Texas doesn't have a statewide voter initiative going on that's funded by one of the cannabis companies. That's two very different types of political situations there, Todd. Not even close to the same thing.
Well, they're
what's going to be
the same thing in practice.
Interesting.
No, not even close. It's apple, one's orange.
Because all these liberals moved. Well, all these liberals moved to Texas. Right. And they're going to start voting. And I think the next couple of election cycles are going to be very, very interesting because you have a lot of different mindsets going into this.
All those people that are lefties are all just moving to Austin where they belong, all in one city.
That's not true. I have a bunch of liberal ass friends that did not move to Austin. And they're moving all over.
They're spreading out.
So
Rico, they're spreading out. Shouldn't they stay in their neighborhood? Wouldn't they just stay together in their own community, in their own neighborhood?
Right. Like, yeah, right. Like they are.
Why do they got to come in my neighborhood? Dallas is fine without them.
Yeah. This whole abortion thing.
Don't go fucking up Houston either.
They're certainly not moving to Los Angeles.
Right. Right. This whole abortion. The way Texas is handling abortion and the way they're handling the whole cannabis thing, I think is going to backfire gloriously on them within the next couple of election cycles.
I agree, because at the heart of the culture of Texas is this idea of personal freedom, self-realization, the independence that made this country.
Unless you have a different religious belief or a different view on abortion.
And Texans don't like guns. They don't like government interference. And they have a governor who is the poster child for government interference.
That's right.
Yes, 100%. 100%. And then the whole gun thing, y'all like, oh yeah, the only way to stop a bad guy with a gun is a good guy with a gun. Your cops ain't even fucking stopping no bad guys.
Yeah,
I mean,
sat outside the school and let the guy shoot everybody up until it was done.
I think Texas is in for a radical changing of the guard very, very soon, a lot sooner than people think.
Well, you know who they need to change? Who they need to change is Dan Patrick. That's who they need to change. That's the real problem in Texas. And if you guys got rid of Dan Patrick, things would be a lot smoother there.
I mean, honestly, Abbott is not without real responsibility for what's happening in Texas.
Abbott doesn't.
I think that Texas.
If you look at where all the fingerprints are, it's all over on Dan Patrick's fingerprints. So Dan Patrick is the ultimate problem. Let's focus on that.
No, man, the fingerprints and DNA are all over that shit. Ken Paxton, come on, bro.
I mean, if we're going to drain the swamp, we got to start with the Attorney General of Texas.
Hold on. Let's say
I didn't think Texas had enough humidity to be a swamp like it is.
Texas is not swampy. Texas is not swampy like that.
Oh, we have to clarify one thing. Is Texas has... Let's clarify one thing. Texas has a medical cannabis program. It's not... It's a
small baby program.
Yeah, it's a baby program, but it exists, right?
It does,
so they have passed some measures, right, to protect patients, chronic pain, like as they said. So it's something. Obviously, they need to expand on it, but it limits the THC to 5%. I think that's what it's a low THC license.
How to protect the kids.
I'm gonna say that before a big change happens at the legislative level on more cannabis reform, I think I agree that some changes need to be made with who runs the show and who makes the choices in Texas. But it's more of an ideological thing there. I think what you're backing up against when you go into the Southeast is this ideological rhetoric, this evangelical, this situation. So, beyond the lieutenant governor, I think there is that hurdle to move past in a place like Texas. But essentially, the revenue that's coming from all of the stuff that's illegal is not going into the state coffers. And I don't know how well Texas is doing, but last time I checked, the only real income Texas had was oil and gas. And, as that
THC-A.
Well, LNG is the new export for America, right? We're just exporting all of our natural gas.
Boot leather.
Boot leather. Yeah, but
build a wall.
I think it's more of an economic issue, as I've said before, and I think Texas needs to look at the economic impact.
Well, speaking, Saman, of the economic impact, the C word says broke people move to Austin. And musicians.
Oh, yeah. Shots fired.
Yeah.
Shots fired.
Yes. And also
it's pretty expensive then.
Yep. And Brian Dambrowski also chimed in, and he wants to make sure that he lets you guys know that Governor Abbott has no power. I told you got to move the lieutenant governor. And that's where it all starts out there in Texas.
Unprotected sex with a gun.
Interesting.
Y'all heard that.
I had unprotected sex with a gun.
Man, it's been a wonderful, wonderful Tuesday. Love everyone in our audience.
Yes, indeed. And thank you all out there, our lively audience, for joining us for yet another episode of High at 9 News. You can catch us live weekdays, 9 a.m. Pacific, high noon on the East Coast. Big shout out to the super fans showing love. Can we get the names going, Jason?
Oh, we got Troy and the C word. Troy and the C word today.
Detroit.
Big love. Yes.
And the C word all up in the building today. Thank you. Big love. Big shout outs to that. And you guys can rest easy because Jason has his lunch money.
I want one more shout out. Guys, check out www.hashfight.com for seats to the SIFT session at Canacraft with Kalia, Wolverine Dabs, and Hans Colonial at the end of the month. Check it out. Seats are filling up. If you want to come check out cool SIFT tech and new technology, come check us out.
Yeah, go check them out. Check it out. Yeah.
Hashfight.com.
Big shout out to everybody else across all media platforms tuning in each day to the Headlines of Chaos, also known as the developing cannabis industry. Our vetted correspondent team tuning in from all over, bringing us much needed variety of perspective and your respected opinions to the table. Our production team, Cloud Media partners, all the sponsors keeping our lights on, AV struggles to a minimum, and then always Cannabis Sativa L, the reason why we show up to read these stories every single day. Thank you too. It has been Tuesday, July 9th. It's 7:20
It's
Eve.
2024.
7:10 Eve.
Yes,
7:10 Eve.
It is 7:10 Eve. That's right.
Hashy 710
I'm feeling a little greasy. I'm feeling a little greasy today. Tomorrow is going to be all about that oil. But today, July 9th, 2024, you've all been blessed with the top industry headlines. Hope it's enough for you to put in your pipe and smoke at least until tomorrow. My name is Rico Lamitte, the dopest dad on the street for High at 9 News, the world's leader in daily cannabis news and opinion. And today, we're going to put things back out to the streets, the mean streets of Las Vegas, Nevada, where the dopest grandpa riding around and getting it. Todd Denkin, what you got? What you got for these people, man?
Yeah, just a reminder, once again, 4 more shopping days. Mm-hmm. Big guy's birthday. Just
big guys.
Todd's birthday. Todd's birthday is coming up in 4 days.
Hey, Todd, you cancer season too?
Yeah. So Todd
Cancers is taking over, baby.
Todd,
Benjamin Button's turning 30 years old.
We want to wish you a very, very happy birthday, Todd, from everyone at High at 9 News.
Benjamin, push that button.
You guys.
Yeah.
Yes.
Appreciate all of you out there.
Yeah.
Much respect, Todd. Love you, man.
So does that mean your birthday's Friday?
Yeah.
Saturday.
Everyone, make sure you mark that date on your calendar.
You have a gift registry for us?
I do. I put it in the chat.
All right. Perfect. I love it. Nice. I love it.
If you guys need to go lab shopping, hit up Todd Denkin.
Oh yeah. Love you guys. Thanks, fellas.
Todd, can we get you a wig for your birthday? Would you wear it?
Of course.
Yeah.
All right.
Hey, pair it to the patent leather outfit that I already ordered for him.
And
make it
very handsome with hair, I must admit.
And shout out to the C word who just threw in one more super chat. Says, "Love y'all. Find me at Hash Week." So find the C word over at Hash Week.
Remember, patent leather is not intellectual property. Okay, it's not IP.
Patent leather.
PL. It's PL.
So you just say grab them in the patent leather?
Hey, shout out to Jordan 11s, baby. Jordan
That'll make
11s.
a trademark.